What if some of the foods you've always believed were healthy are quietly accelerating the aging process inside your body? Perhaps you feel like you're eating a balanced diet, yet you still experience fatigue, persistent inflammation, gradual weight gain, or a subtle sense that your health is drifting in the wrong direction. What if the foods most people associate with longevity are not actually the true reason certain populations consistently live beyond 100 years while remaining mentally sharp, energetic, and remarkably resistant to disease? To understand this, we need to look at what is truly happening inside the body. Longevity is not determined by a single miracle food, a cabinet full of supplements, or the newest popular diet circulating online. Instead, it emerges from the way your everyday food choices interact with your metabolism, your immune defenses, and the built-in repair systems that operate inside every cell. This understanding did not come from social media trends or celebrity nutrition advice. It emerged from decades of rigorous scientific investigation, including research that has been recognized with Nobel Prizes. Over many years, scientists studying aging, cellular stress, and resistance to disease uncovered something unexpected. The longest-living populations on Earth are not necessarily consuming larger amounts of food. Instead, they tend to eat in a more deliberate and strategic way. Their dietary patterns quietly activate internal survival pathways that help reduce inflammation, stabilize insulin levels, protect DNA from damage, and maintain the health and flexibility of blood vessels. This matters because aging is not simply a matter of the calendar advancing year by year. In many ways, aging reflects the gradual buildup of metabolic damage within the body. When insulin remains chronically elevated, when inflammation quietly persists, when oxidative stress accumulates, and when the immune system becomes sluggish, these forces slowly push the body toward faster aging. This process often begins long before wrinkles appear or a doctor diagnoses a chronic illness. But when those underlying factors are corrected, something remarkable can happen. The body begins to repair and restore itself. Consider a simple comparison. Imagine your body as a high-performance hybrid engine designed to operate using multiple fuel systems. When everything is functioning properly, the engine can shift smoothly between those systems depending on what is needed. Unfortunately, modern eating habits often force the body to run in one inefficient mode almost all the time. That mode relies heavily on constant sugar burning, increased inflammation, and reduced cellular repair. Eating patterns that support longevity help restore balance to this system. They allow the metabolic engine to shift back and forth between fuel sources in a way that keeps the body efficient, adaptable, and resilient. Scientific research now shows that certain everyday foods, not exotic superfoods and not expensive supplements, send powerful signals to your cells. These signals can activate longevity-related genes, strengthen immune protection, enhance insulin sensitivity, and reduce the biological wear and tear that eventually contributes to heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and cognitive decline. And here is the surprising part. Many of the foods that support longevity are not the ones people usually expect. Living longer is not about consuming more protein shakes, relying on packaged health bars, or eating small snacks constantly throughout the day. In fact, some of the most powerful longevity-supporting foods work precisely because they introduce small amounts of healthy stress into the body. This kind of stress does not weaken the system. It trains your biology to become stronger and more resilient. In this video, we will explore 6 insights supported by modern metabolic research, including discoveries connected to Nobel Prize-recognized science. You will learn which foods deserve a regular place in your diet, why the timing of meals matters just as much as the foods themselves, and how to activate your body's natural longevity mechanisms without relying on medications or extreme dietary approaches. And if this kind of science-based, root-cause health education is useful to you, consider subscribing. I regularly share content like this to help you take greater control of your long-term health using natural and evidence-based strategies.
Now, let's look more closely at what is really happening inside your body, because this is where many people misunderstand the concept of longevity. For many years, the common advice was that living longer required eating perfectly healthy foods more frequently, keeping blood sugar stable at all times, and avoiding anything that might feel like stress to the body. But Nobel Prize-recognized research revealed a very different reality. Your cells do not necessarily become healthier when life is completely comfortable. Instead, they become stronger when they encounter just the right amount of challenge. Let's explain this with another analogy. Picture your body as a large city. Each day, waste begins to accumulate. Damaged proteins, dysfunctional mitochondria, and broken cellular structures slowly pile up. If garbage trucks suddenly stopped collecting trash in that city, the system would not collapse overnight. But gradually, the streets would fill with waste, processes would slow down, inflammation would rise, and essential services would begin to fail. The aging process unfolds in a similar way. The body contains an internal recycling and cleanup system called autophagy. In 2016, scientist Yoshinori Ohsumi received the Nobel Prize for revealing how this remarkable process functions. His research demonstrated that autophagy is one of the body's most powerful anti-aging mechanisms. It breaks down and recycles damaged cellular components, improves metabolic efficiency, and helps protect against diseases such as cancer, neurodegenerative disorders, and immune system decline. But there is an important detail that many people overlook. Autophagy does not operate at full strength when the body is constantly digesting food. Each time you eat, even when the food is considered healthy, insulin levels increase. Insulin signals that nutrients are available and that the body should focus on growth and storage. Growth is essential, but continuous growth without periodic cleanup accelerates aging. It is similar to constantly building new rooms onto a house while ignoring the condition of the foundation. Autophagy becomes active when insulin levels fall, and the body experiences a temporary pause in energy intake, such as during overnight fasting or when meals are spaced apart thoughtfully. This does not mean starving the body. It simply means allowing intentional gaps between meals. Long-lived populations, such as those studied in Okinawa and Sardinia, did not snack continuously throughout the day. They typically ate simple meals, stopped eating before they felt completely full, and allowed their bodies long overnight breaks without food. Without knowing the scientific term autophagy, they were naturally activating this process every day. Here is a practical approach you can begin using. Start with an overnight fasting window of about 12 to 14 hours. For instance, if dinner ends around 7 in the evening, breakfast might occur around 9 the next morning. Even this simple routine can begin stimulating cellular cleanup pathways. Another helpful habit is avoiding late-night eating. Meals consumed late in the evening keep insulin levels elevated during a time when the body should be focused on tissue repair and hormonal regulation, including hormones like melatonin and growth hormone. In the morning, try emphasizing protein instead of sugar-heavy foods. This helps stabilize insulin and prevents autophagy from shutting down too early. Now, let's connect this idea directly to longevity. Autophagy does more than remove damaged cellular parts. It also improves mitochondrial performance, meaning your cells can produce energy more efficiently while generating less internal damage. The result can be clearer thinking, stronger muscles, healthier skin, and slower biological aging. This helps explain why many people experience sharper mental clarity and more stable energy levels when they stop grazing on food all day long. It is not a mysterious effect, it's simply metabolism functioning the way it was designed. There is another important factor worth mentioning: Physical activity can significantly enhance autophagy, particularly resistance training and steady aerobic exercise, often called Zone 2 cardio. Movement introduces small, controlled stress into the body. That stress sends a signal that adaptation is required, and adaptation is one of the most powerful foundations for maintaining vitality and youth. So, the main takeaway from this section is both straightforward and powerful. Longevity does not come from eating more frequently. It comes from giving your cells a time they need to clean, repair, and reset.
Now let's move into the second insight, one that surprises many people when they first encounter it. Managing insulin levels may play a far greater role in longevity than calorie counting, fat intake, or even genetics. Think of insulin as the body's primary storage hormone. Its main role is to transport nutrients from the bloodstream into tissues such as muscle, the liver, and fat cells. This function is absolutely essential for survival. However, modern research has revealed something important. When insulin remains elevated for extended periods throughout the day, it can accelerate the biological aging process. Here is what happens internally. When insulin stays high for long stretches, often due to frequent meals, refined carbohydrates, or constant snacking, cells remain locked in growth and storage mode. Growth may sound positive, but from a biological perspective, it also suppresses repair mechanisms while increasing inflammation and oxidative stress. Over time, this metabolic environment contributes to insulin resistance, accumulation of visceral fat, hormonal disruption, and faster cellular aging. This is one reason why two individuals consuming the same number of calories can age very differently. Longevity is influenced not only by how much food you consume, but also by how frequently insulin is triggered throughout the day. Scientific studies of aging pathways, including mTOR, AMPK, and insulin signaling, have shown a consistent pattern across many organisms, from yeast and worms to mice and humans. Lower and better timed insulin exposure is strongly associated with a longer lifespan. To simplify these pathways, think of mTOR as the body's build and grow system. AMPK functions differently. It serves as the repair and recycling system. Insulin strongly activates the mTOR pathway. When mTOR remains constantly active, AMPK rarely has the opportunity to perform its repair work. Over time, this imbalance accelerates the aging process. This is where many people misunderstand nutrition. They attempt to solve the problem by obsessively counting calories or eliminating dietary fat entirely. But the true leverage point is not strict deprivation. The real opportunity lies in the timing and quality of carbohydrates.
Here are several practical strategies you can begin using immediately. First, consume carbohydrates after protein and fiber rather than eating them on their own. This slows the absorption of glucose into the bloodstream and reduces the size of the insulin spike. Second, try limiting your food intake to 2 or 3 substantial meals instead of spreading food across 6 or 7 small snacks throughout the day. Each time you eat, insulin is released. Third, choose carbohydrate sources that naturally contain fiber and polyphenols, such as berries, legumes, lentils, and intact whole grains. These foods soften the insulin response while also nourishing beneficial gut bacteria. Another extremely simple habit with powerful metabolic benefits is taking a short walk, about 10 to 15 minutes after meals. This light movement can reduce post-meal blood sugar levels by as much as 30% and requires no special equipment or gym membership. Now let's explore why this matters so much for longevity. Lower insulin levels do more than protect metabolic health. They also safeguard your blood vessels, your brain, and your immune system. When insulin resistance develops, the inner lining of blood vessels, known as the endothelium, can become damaged. This damage increases the risk of clot formation and accelerates cardiovascular disease as well as cognitive decline. In fact, researchers have discovered such a strong connection between insulin dysfunction and Alzheimer's disease that some scientists refer to the condition as type 3 diabetes. The encouraging news is that insulin sensitivity can improve relatively quickly. Within just a few weeks of adjusting meal timing, reducing ultra-processed foods, and adding simple movement after meals, insulin signaling often begins to improve. Energy levels stabilize, cravings become less intense, and fat loss frequently becomes easier without requiring constant willpower. If this concept resonates with you, be sure to stay subscribed, because in the next section, we will explore one of the most fascinating discoveries in longevity science. Certain plant compounds can actually imitate some of the biological effects of exercise at the cellular level. Even if you are not highly athletic, this is where food becomes far more powerful than a simple source of calories. Food becomes information that communicates directly with your biology. Let's take a closer look at what is happening inside your cells. When people say that food can function like medicine, this is one of the most overlooked mechanisms behind that statement. Imagine your cells as a house. Over time, waste naturally accumulates. Damaged proteins, dysfunctional mitochondria, and broken cellular components slowly pile up. If that waste is not regularly removed, the structure of the house gradually deteriorates. In biology, the cleanup process responsible for removing this waste is autophagy, and it is one of the strongest indicators of healthy aging. But here's the surprising part. You do not always need extreme fasting or intense physical training to activate these repair systems. Research shows that certain plant-based compounds known as polyphenols can activate many of the same cellular pathways. This discovery connects directly with Nobel Prize-recognized research on cellular recycling and autophagy. Polyphenols create a mild, beneficial stress inside cells. This concept is known as hormesis. Hormesis describes a small stress that ultimately strengthens the system. It is the same principle that operates during exercise. When muscles experience controlled stress, the body responds by rebuilding them stronger than before. Foods rich in polyphenols stimulate AMPK activity, reduce excessive mTOR signaling, calm inflammation, and improve mitochondrial efficiency. In simple terms, they send messages to your cells, encouraging them to repair damage, clean up waste, and function in a more youthful state. Some of the most powerful sources of polyphenols include extra virgin olive oil, green tea, dark berries, cocoa, coffee, cruciferous vegetables, legumes, and lentils. Notice something important about this list. None of these foods are extreme or unusual. None require expensive supplements or rigid dietary rules. Longevity-focused nutrition is not about punishment or restriction. It is about sending the right biological signals to the body. Now, let's clear up a very common misunderstanding. When people hear about plant compounds and longevity, their minds often jump immediately to fruit juices, blended smoothies, or heavily promoted health products on store shelves. But once the natural fiber is stripped away from whole foods, a large portion of the benefit disappears. Fiber slows the digestive process, helps stabilize blood sugar levels, nourishes beneficial gut bacteria, and allows polyphenols to travel through the digestive tract to the colon, where they are transformed into even more biologically active compounds. Here's something particularly fascinating. Your gut microbiome does far more than simply break down the food you eat. It actually converts polyphenols into powerful longevity-supporting molecules. These metabolites help lower systemic inflammation, improve the body's sensitivity to insulin, and shield DNA from oxidative stress and cellular damage. This means that if gut health is compromised, even a well-designed diet may fail to deliver its full range of benefits. That is why the condition of the microbiome plays such an important role in determining long-term health and longevity. There is a simple and practical approach you can begin following.
Try to consume more than 30 different plant foods each week. This does not mean eating 30 foods every single day. The goal is variety across the entire week. Diversity matters far more than eating large amounts of just 1 or 2 foods. Include at least one polyphenol-rich ingredient with each meal. This could be a drizzle of olive oil, a small handful of berries, fresh herbs, aromatic spices, and colorful vegetables. Even small additions can produce meaningful benefits over time. At the same time, try to avoid ultra-processed products that are marketed as plant-based but contain long lists of additives. If a packaged item includes dozens of preservatives, stabilizers, or artificial ingredients, it is unlikely to nourish the microbiome in a meaningful way. Another simple habit that is often overlooked is eating slowly and chewing food thoroughly. Digestion does not begin in the stomach, it begins in the mouth. When food is poorly chewed, digestion becomes less efficient, and the signaling between nutrients and your body's metabolic systems becomes weaker.
The most important idea to understand here is this: longevity foods do not magically add extra years to your life. Instead, they help remove the biological friction that accelerates aging. Chronic inflammation, insulin resistance, oxidative stress, and impaired cellular repair are the real forces that drive the aging process. When those pressures are reduced, the body naturally operates in a more youthful and resilient way. This helps explain why people living in long-lived regions around the world rarely obsess over precise macronutrient ratios or follow extreme diets. Instead, they consistently eat simple, whole foods in patterns that quietly support cellular maintenance and repair. Now, stay with me because the next idea surprises almost everyone. There is one daily habit that may outperform supplements, expensive biohacking tools, and even genetic advantages when it comes to living past 100. And most people are unknowingly doing it incorrectly. Let's talk about how often you eat, not just what you eat. Many people assume longevity depends on special superfoods, but scientific research keeps pointing towards something even more fundamental: metabolic rhythm. Imagine your metabolism as a busy city. During the day, traffic moves through the streets, deliveries arrive, energy is used, and activity is constant. But during the night, the city needs quiet hours so maintenance crews can repair roads, remove waste, and restore infrastructure. If traffic never slows down, the city begins to deteriorate much faster. Your body functions in a similar way. When you eat continuously throughout the day, snacking frequently, grazing between meals, and having late-night dinners, insulin levels remain elevated. When insulin stays high, the body has difficulty accessing stored fat, repairing damaged cells, or entering deeper maintenance states. Research consistently shows that one of the strongest signals for longevity is the presence of daily periods when insulin remains low. This does not require starvation or extreme dietary restriction. It simply involves creating structured breaks between meals. This is why time-restricted eating patterns often lead to improvements in blood sugar control, reductions in inflammation, healthier mitochondrial function, and even beneficial changes in gene expression linked to aging. There is another fascinating insight as well. Research at the highest levels of aging biology has demonstrated that cells require periods without incoming nutrients in order to activate certain repair genes. When the body is constantly digesting food, those genes simply cannot switch on. However, this is where many people make a common mistake. They attempt fasting while still eating late at night, sleeping poorly, and exposing themselves to chronic stress. That combination can cancel out many of the potential benefits. Longevity nutrition is not about skipping breakfast simply for the sake of a trend. It is about aligning your eating habits with your body's natural circadian rhythms.
Here is a simple and sustainable approach that works with your physiology instead of against it.
Try finishing your final meal at least 3 hours before going to sleep. This one habit alone can improve insulin sensitivity and enhance sleep quality. Aim for an overnight eating break of around 12 to 14 hours. It does not need to be extreme, just consistent. Whenever possible, eat your larger meals earlier in the day when insulin sensitivity is naturally higher. Evening meals can be lighter and more focused on protein. Consuming large amounts of carbohydrates late at night may interfere with melatonin and growth hormone release. Now, let's explore why this matters so much for longevity. When insulin levels fall, the body begins shifting toward fat burning. But something even more important occurs. Growth hormone levels rise, markers of inflammation decrease, and autophagy becomes more active. This combination creates an internal environment where biological aging begins to slow. And here is the surprising part. You do not necessarily have to eat less food overall to extend your lifespan. Often, you simply need to improve the timing of your meals. Many of the world's longest-living populations do not eat extremely small portions. Instead, they eat normal meals, but they tend to stop eating earlier in the day, share meals socially, and allow their metabolism daily periods of rest. If this information has been helpful so far, consider subscribing. I regularly break down complex health science into practical strategies you can apply immediately in everyday life. Now, in the next section, we are going to discuss a topic that is frequently misunderstood: protein. Because the same nutrient that helps build and maintain muscle can also accelerate aspects of aging if its timing and balance are not handled properly. And this is where many people unintentionally work against their own longevity goals. Protein is essential for preserving strength, maintaining muscle mass, supporting bone density, and protecting metabolic health as we grow older. However, research into longevity has revealed an important insight. The timing and distribution of protein intake can influence aging pathways within the body. Earlier, we mentioned a pathway called mTOR. This pathway functions as the body's primary growth signal. It tells cells to build tissue, strengthen muscles, and repair structures after physical stress. This pathway is crucial for survival. Without mTOR activation, wounds would not heal and muscle tissue would not regenerate. But challenges arise when this growth signal remains activated all the time. Continuous stimulation of mTOR can encourage uncontrolled cellular growth, which has been linked to faster biological aging and a greater risk of cancer. In other words, the body requires both growth periods and repair periods. Longevity emerges from maintaining balance between these two phases. Protein stimulates the mTOR pathway more strongly than carbohydrates or fats. This is one reason why resistance training combined with sufficient protein intake helps maintain muscle as we age. However, when protein consumption is spread constantly throughout the day through repeated snacking or processed protein products, the growth pathway may remain active for too long. This prevents the body from entering deeper repair states such as autophagy. This does not mean protein is harmful. In fact, it becomes increasingly important with age. The key concept is strategic timing. For most individuals, consuming protein within 2 or 3 balanced meals works better than sipping protein drinks or eating protein bars continuously. Spacing meals allows mTOR to activate when growth is needed and then gradually decrease so repair systems can operate. Another factor to consider is protein quality. Populations known for longevity tend to eat a variety of protein sources rather than relying exclusively on one type.
Legumes, lentils, fish, eggs, nuts, seeds, and moderate portions of animal protein commonly appear together in longevity-focused diets. Plant-based proteins also provide fiber and polyphenols, which support gut health and help reduce inflammation. Now let's examine one final biological system that quietly influences how long and how well we live: the health of your vascular system.
Your vascular system delivers oxygen and nutrients to every tissue throughout the body. When blood vessels become stiff, narrow, or damaged, circulation declines. As a result, the brain, heart, muscles, and even the skin receive less oxygen. Over time, poor vascular health can accelerate aging across the entire body. Researchers who study longevity consistently observe that people with flexible, responsive blood vessels have significantly lower risks of cardiovascular disease, stroke, and cognitive decline. One of the key molecules responsible for maintaining healthy blood vessels is nitric oxide. Nitric oxide helps blood vessels relax and widen, improving circulation and lowering blood pressure. However, nitric oxide production naturally declines as we age. Fortunately, certain foods can help restore this process. Leafy green vegetables such as spinach, arugula, and lettuce contain natural nitrates that the body can convert into nitric oxide. Beets are another well-known food that supports vascular function. Polyphenol-rich foods like cocoa, berries, green tea, and extra virgin olive oil also enhance nitric oxide signaling within blood vessels. Movement plays an important role as well. Regular walking increases blood flow and naturally stimulates nitric oxide production. Even short daily walks can gradually improve endothelial health. When circulation improves, tissues receive more oxygen. Inflammation declines, and cells produce energy more efficiently. The result can be sharper thinking, stronger muscles, healthier skin, and greater resilience against chronic disease. When you step back and view the bigger picture, something remarkable becomes clear. Longevity is not determined by a single miracle food or one perfect habit. It emerges from many small biological signals working together every day. Periods of cellular cleanup through autophagy, balanced insulin signaling through thoughtful meal timing, polyphenol-rich foods that activate repair pathways, a diverse gut microbiome supported by plant variety, adequate protein that maintains strength without overstimulating growth pathways, and healthy blood vessels that deliver oxygen to every cell. When these systems operate in harmony, the body becomes remarkably resilient. Aging still happens, of course, but it progresses more slowly, more gracefully, and with far greater vitality. The encouraging reality is that most of these habits do not require expensive supplements or extreme dietary programs. They are simple patterns that can be practiced consistently. Spacing meals, eating real foods, moving daily, supporting the microbiome, and allowing the body time to repair itself. These habits may not look dramatic from the outside, but inside your body they activate some of the most powerful longevity pathways scientists have ever discovered. Over years and decades, those small daily signals can profoundly influence how your body ages. If you found this explanation helpful, consider subscribing to Health and Healing, where we explore the science of healthy aging and practical habits that support strength, clarity, and independence throughout life. Because the real goal is not simply living longer. The goal is remaining strong, mentally sharp, and vibrant for as many years as possible. And the choices you make each day have a far greater impact on that outcome than most people realize. If this was helpful, subscribe for more simple science-based habits that can help you stay strong, independent, and healthy for many years to come.